midterm report, first, of the president's first 4-year term. Here we are, 2 years in. And, it's been done, but let's look at the economy again, especially the economic renewal agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And to help us out with that is Dr. Niyi Akishiju, Chairman, Independent Media and Policy Initiative. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Good morning to you, Dr. Akishiju. Well, clearly, something is up. But as I said, that is our guest, and Dr. Akishiju is in the studio to, look at President Tinubu's economic, the gains of President Tinubu's economic renewal. Okay, I hear that Dr. Niyi Akishiju, Chairman, Independent Media and Policy Initiative, can now hear us. A fine morning to you, Dr. Akishiju. Yes, sir. Our pleasure here. Well, I suppose one of the most important sectors, or shall I say one of the most critical sectors, must be the economy, because everything revolves around it. And it's been tough, let it be said. Whereas, the administration and all the, commentators, of course, will have their views on it. But the thing is, with economic renewal or revival, as is well known, it won't happen between one day and the next, not even between 1 week and the next, perhaps not even between 1 month and the next. But surely we are told that things are on a different keel now, and the worst is behind us. So that's where I would like to start, because everybody is complaining, and one can't say that the complaints are frivolous. That things are very, very tough. It doesn't matter what indices they use, from the value of the naira. I'm not talking foreign exchange here. I'm talking about what 1,000 naira could buy recently is different. Now we have a bottle of what our people call soft drink, mineral water. That one is going, that plastic bottle is going for 500 naira. It's like we're sort of acclimatizing. But things definitely are tougher. But we are told that it's only for a while. How would you weigh in on this, Dr. Akishiju, especially the impatience of the people that, things are getting tougher and tougher?
Thank you so much, Glory, for having me. Discussing the Nigerian economy, it's perhaps the most unpopular thing to do, especially if you are if you are one of those that are optimistic about where we are going, and of course the fact that one feel that in so many ways the federal government is doing the right thing, though it's really about courage, because a number of governments in the past had not this ambition, do I call it an ambition, or not this objective of tinkering with the Nigerian economic templates, but had always at the last minute had to retreat because, yes, again, whatever would be the outcome, in the immediate will be unpopular. But I think the current administration determined, to be more objective, to be more practical, and to be more realistic. Because the truth is that the economy that we were running before was a constrained economy. It was an economy that could not drive productivity. And it will get to a time that will actually run into a cul-de-sac. Perhaps this administration refused to be the driver of the economy that will run us into a cul-de-sac, because eventually that is where we are going to get to. And when you get into a cul-de-sac, it does mean that you cannot move forward and you cannot move backward. Because the major indicators of that economy is that before now we had an economy that was not producing jobs, that was not creating jobs. We had an economy that was constraining production and productivity. We had an economy that we were largely import dependent. 90% of our manufacturing needs, between 70 and 90% of our manufacturing needs were coming from abroad. So for every dollar that we earn, we were actually sending back 80 to 90 cents of that dollar into other countries of the world. So we were just living in an illusion. So I think we should first commend this president for mustering that courage, to go ahead and determine to to reform the economy, as it were, what we call an economic renewal, as far as I'm concerned. And the truth is that when an economy that had been a dependent economy, dependent on one sole product for exports, dependent on one sole product for logistics, for movement of people and all that, when you transition from that economy, it will definitely create a dislocation, for indigents or citizens of that jurisdiction. And that is what we are going through now. But I think because by the nature of this reform, it is corrective. So because it is corrective, we have started seeing what we call the first green shoots of the impact of the policies. I am very definite, that we will get into a period, that we will first forget our immediate past, and of course start seeing more engaging economic activities and attribution of what an economy, what a lively, productive, job-creating economy is and should be.
Exactly. Well, as you said, you mentioned some keywords there. You talked about productivity, and then you talked about job creation as well. And I guess those two go hand in hand. What are your views on the productivity aspect of this particular equation? We desperately need to boost our productivity, arguably. Right now, it's a mono-product economy, as you have just alluded to. What are the options there in terms of boosting our productivity?
Well, the options are to start looking at the major drivers of an economy. What are the major drivers of economy? Access to foreign exchange, logistics, infrastructure, human capital development, and of course the resources to build human beings. That's what I mean by human capital development. It's not enough to have more than 200 million people that constitute our population. It's not also enough to have about 60% of that population being younger ones. When there is no revenue, there is no resources to grow them, to nurture them into economic agents. So you can actually have a population of a large number of young people, large number of general people, without them having capacity to be engaged economically. And when you have that kind of situation, it becomes actually a burden, an economic burden. So the totality of what constitutes production and productivity, it's one, the infrastructure, and we talk about the nail and hammer infrastructure, roads, ports, whatever you can think of around, hardcore infrastructure, including, of course, power, which is a major thing. It's even up till now, there have been serious uproar, and of course, hill filling in the manufacturing sector, for instance, over the cost of energy. Yes, and we could also talk of energy in terms of petrol, diesel. These are the energy that drives our households and our industry, And then we are also talking about social infrastructure, access to education, and what kind of education. It's not just even about any form of education. How objectively applicable the kind of education we are going through or passing through that enhances our capacity to be economically engaged and to earn, not just an income, but an income that constitutes what we call the living wage. So these are some of the things that determine your productivity. But unfortunately, up until May 29, 2023, we more or less, trade off all the attributions of infrastructure or productivity, things that help us produce more, and more or less concentrated on subsidy, subsidizing our movement, so to speak, through subsidy for petroleum, especially PMS, more or less PMS, and that was taking virtually all resources of states. So rather than have enough revenue to invest in other aspects of production and productivity, we just concentrated on that. It became a bastion of corruption. When we talk about corruption, it's a major reference point of corruption. It became a major point of constraint for productivity because assets, what we call asset formation, was also constrained. We were not building roads. Money that we were supposed to be building roads, we were funding our subsidy regime. And to even make things worse, we were now also borrowing money to subsidize availability of petroleum, of PMS. And which means that we were actually just burning off, we took loan, subsidized, and then burn off the subsidy as it were, because we were not actually directing the proceeds of that subsidy into productive engagement.
Okay, exactly. So in fact, these, sort of meeting the crunch, and biting the bullet, as they say, that President Tinubu, has initiated. He's taking these very bold decisions because, as you said, to paraphrase you, we were heading for a cul-de-sac, and he saw it. And he took decisive action. In fact, there are those who are saying that was the action not a bit too decisive, because you recall that it was on the very first day of his inauguration that it was almost as if it was part of his inauguration speech. He had said, subsidy is gone. And immediately there was, quote unquote, chaos, in the sense that all the petrol stations, all the outlets immediately jacked up the price. And as we are speaking here, it led to an inflation. I don't know if to say that we're still grappling with that, even as it has come down. Now we have flavors of inflation. There's the general inflation, and there's also what experts are referring to as food inflation as well. One has to be certain, these things, painful as they are just inescapable. And you've also indicated that previous administrations, shied away from it, one reason or the other. But President Tinubu has stuck with it, and it hasn't been the easiest of jobs, because you also do need security. And if we're going to, I mentioned food inflation, if you're going to, do anything appreciable to feeding yourself, well, the criminality that is going on in our food basins is another program to contend with. So, AKA insecurity. I mean, it would have been different if there was peace, if there was a peaceful lie of the ground for this to be going on. But in addition to the challenge that we are facing, we also have to face insecurity. So, I mean, there's a sense in which President Tinubu and his team are doing a real yeoman's job. These are very, very difficult times, but we still are going on. And before you come back on that, let me, I hear that there's a call. Mr. Drosimi in Lekki wants to join the program. So let me bring Mr. Drosimi on. Good morning, Mr. Drosimi. Okay, Mr. Drosimi, if you could just mute the volume of your television set, please.
Good morning, Kuyori.
Good morning, sir.
The question is, how do we get to where we are? We are here where we are because two major decisions taken.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Have you muted your television set volume to 0 so that we can hear you properly?
Removal of the subsidy on our petrol, and the second one is the unification of exchange rate.
Okay.
These are major economic decisions. The president took the bull by the horn. It's just like breaking coconuts with bare hand. And who are those who benefiting? The governors have more money. These efforts can actually be amplified if the governors are using the money maximally to create jobs, create construction, and ensure that the money is properly utilized in their various states. Agriculture is one of the most important things that we have neglected for a long time. If we can engage in production of agricultural products, both cash crop and edible crops, we will not be where we are. We must encourage agriculture. We must go back to our cocoa production. We must go back to our groundnut production. And even after producing them, we must actually add value by making sure that we are not exporting these crops raw like that. We must ensure that we add value in Nigeria by creating jobs with it. Then insecurity is another problem that we need to tackle. The enemies of the nation are always ensure that there is problem in food production area like Benue. Government should ensure that police is properly equipped, properly trained, and ensure that we take the bull by the horn. The police, the army, the DSS, we should all work together as one and ensure that the farmers are protected. That is another thing that can take out of it. Without production, Naira cannot get value. We are a consuming nation. We must be ready to produce or to add value to the Naira. In the situation whereby we have to import everything, it means that the Naira will continue to dance in the market without any value.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Drosimi, for calling in. Mr. Akinshi, you heard it there. He touched on the themes, some of the themes that we had spoken about, and what would be your response? Because he also touched on something I was going to come to, which is that with the removal of subsidy, this has freed up a lot of funds that have now been channeled into the subnationals, aka the states. Whether the states are now proceeding full gusto as a result of these extra funds that have come their way is another thing. In fact, there has been the criticism that stop talking to the center every time. Why don't you talk to beneficiaries of a lot more money than they ever had in terms of what Mr. Drosimi has just spoken about?
Yes, I agree. I agree with the perspective marshaled by Mr. Drosimi. And of course, there is a concern over what the subnationals are doing with the newfound higher quantum of fund available to them through the Federal Allocation and the Accounts Committee. I also want to give the governors some benefits of doubt because in the real sense of it, no matter how hefty the sum you could have, you cannot wave a major infrastructure asset, into existence. It has to take a process and, of course, some time for you to start to see the crystallization of roads. Even if it's a 15 kilometers road, it takes some time for you to see the crystallization. But what in the immediate we are seeing is that state governments are actually also paying off their debts, their state debts. The last we had was out of a possible total 5 trillion naira debt, secured by subnationals. About 1.6 or 1.7 trillion had been paid. That is an indication of commitment, of fiscal responsibility. And of course, it also shows that in truth, monies are being increased, sums of money are being allocated to the states, and they are doing something with it. Just like at the federal level too. So whereas before now, we were borrowing money to fund our subsidy appetite, now we are saving that money. We have higher money saved from that. We are also offsetting, loans, debts that have been secured in the past. So much that at the point in time, in value time, in dollar value, our sovereign debt that's the federal sovereign debt, was up to $108 billion, but now it has been reduced to $94 billion. We're talking of close to $13 billion under 18 months specifically. So it tells us that the policies as they are, either at the level of removal of subsidy or at the level of harmonization of foreign exchange, the subsidies are working. The policies are working. And they are not just working at the federal level, they are also working at the subnationals. But we can only continue to appeal to the governors, especially in the areas of agriculture, because they are the custodians of land. they should find a way of profitably, and commercially engaging this land in a way that they will produce more, especially now that by whatever means, because of the depreciation of the naira, there's a new opportunity for export, especially agri-processed export, for Nigerian products, Nigerian agricultural products everywhere in the West African region and beyond. We have seen the quantum leap in terms of exports products from Nigeria to West African region and beyond, to other African countries in the last 16 months. With the reason being that the naira, because of its depreciation, had made our locally domestic produced food or goods more cheaper. So our foods, our processed goods have become competitive, in that space. So whereas we had vessels come in, bring in imported commodities before into Nigeria, and you don't see those vessels taking out products, Nigerian products before. Now we see products coming and products going out. Okay. And of course, because of that depreciation of the currency, as it were, imports had also become expensive, and that is discouraging demand for import products. And because you are having, higher price for imported products, there is now a tendency for Nigerians to start looking inward. And because Nigerians are looking inwards for the products they used to buy as imported before, it's also incentivizing the local producers, local manufacturers to produce more. So whatever the case may be, we are seeing a win-win situation, for the economy and for Nigerian people. Okay.
It's just that there always is a sort of a gap, interregnum between policy initiation and seeing the results of it. That was what I was alluding to at the top, where I said, look, it's not a day to day or even week to week affair. Well, Mr. George, thank you very much for holding on all this while. Please go ahead now. Good morning. Have we lost Mr. George? Oh. Because I didn't want to break Dr. Akishiju's train of thought, so he might have had to go off. Sorry about that, Mr. Okay, Mr. George, are you there? Go ahead now, please.
Okay, Uncle Yori, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'm hearing you faintly. Good morning, and good morning to the guest.
Yes.
Uncle Yori, the topic we are discussing this morning reminds me of what I heard in the media a few days ago about a group who say they are called Take It Back movement. They want to protest against one thing or the other in the economy. I don't know what they want to take back. I don't know where they want to take it from and where they are taking it to. Uncle Yori, we were running a superficial economy in this country. We had an exchange rate that didn't reflect the exact nature of the economy. A state-managed exchange rate meant to benefit the pockets of a few. Now, we had a fraudulent foreign exchange, subsidies on petroleum.
Okay.
And these things were making the system dry. It's like a father that has so much money and he puts it and uses it to spoil his children. They were not hardworking. And then when he passes on, all the wealth he left behind gets squeezed. These children will not be able to manage it because they didn't have any experience of their own or the attitude of, working hard to stay alone. That's what our economy was looking like. Now somebody came and said, I want to reset it. And we can see the resetting that is being done. Then all of a sudden, you see people here and there say, let anybody tell me where reforms have ever taken place that didn't come with pains. Is it Singapore? Is it the Europe and America we are running to every day? Is it Dubai? These things happen, and we should embrace it rather than protesting against it.
All right,
the first caller has said some of the recommendations I wanted to make. But I want to appeal to Mr. President that he should let or find a way to get the governors to key into this ideology. If it is only the governors in his party, if only the governors in his party are doing what Mr. Durosimi recommended about agriculture and economic strategy, we will get somewhere in this country. That's my view too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. George. In fact, Dr. Kishiju has sort of commented on the aspect of the governors, who have received much more funds than they've ever been used to, and what they've been doing with it. I think Dr. Kishiju was sort of hinting at need to be a bit patient for the results of that to come. Give the governors the benefit of the doubt, he said. But Dr. Kishiju, did you want to comment on that?
Oh, well, it's especially on the foreign exchange aspect of it. It's as if some Nigerians have not actually understood, the impact of the harmonization of the foreign exchange. What I like to normally, point out is the fact of the inequity, inherent in that foreign exchange regime in the past, where you only have a small number of people have access, to foreign exchange. A foreign exchange reserve for a sovereign state, for a country, is actually a reserve meant for every single individual, in that country. But when you run a controlled, regulated foreign exchange policy, what it does is to alienate a vast number of the people, away from access. So it's only people who know somebody in the Central Bank of Nigeria, for instance, that can access the dollar for foreign travels, what we call invisible foreign travels, school payments, for medical tourism and all that. So you need to know somebody. That is one. Then two, even for manufacturers, you need to know somebody to access that dollar at that cheap, controlled price. Now, the other tendency is that when you are able to engage and use your nexus to secure foreign exchange at the official window, you can also now take that quantum of fund that you have been able to secure. For instance, let's say you are so connected with the CBN, and you are able to get $1 million, from the official window. Meanwhile, you have at that time the official rate was 460 naira to $1, while the black market rate, so-called parallel market, so-called, was about $750. So 750 naira. So you took your $1 million dollar secured from the official window. You take them. You take that sum to the black market or the parallel market, as it were, and you get a kill of more than 300 million naira from that single
round tripping,
non-applicable, transaction, and you are cheated the sovereign state. You are cheated more than 200 million Nigerian out of their foreign reserve. So it was not serving the purpose of equity in the first instance, and it has inherent in it, corruption. But now with this open market, harmonized windows as we are, you know what the rate is every day. You can determine how you want to approach, the necessary, either the Nigerian foreign exchange market or the bureau de change, as it were, and you know what the price are. And to even make things good, the margin, the difference between the black market, the parallel market, and the official market, as it were, has oscillated between 20 naira and 30 naira. So it has become a disincentive for round tripping. So for me, it's a major gain for the economy.
All right. I'll tell you what, Dr. Kishiju, thank you very much. We'll take a quick break now. Do please stay with us. We'll be right back. Is our guest. He's in our Abuja studio. Thank you once again, Dr. Kishiju, for being with us. Okay, we've spoken about, we were looking at it, and we've had some key points to reflect on. It is tough, but absolutely no other way to go. And we've been told that, look, the worst is behind us. And ever so incrementally, we're coming out of the situation. And shortly, we shall be saying that we wonder how we've come this far. That might be cold comfort to some, but we just have to be pragmatic and realistic, and there's no simple way, there's no easy way, there's no, shall we say, painless way to do what needs to be done. And that is why oftentimes it is said that President Tinubu, has been very, very bold with his initiatives. He's told us that, look, I feel your pain. It's not that I'm sitting down here and doing those things that citizens, ordinary citizens are saying are painful, and I don't care. I'm just being a hard taskmaster. He said on more than one occasion that I feel your pain. So I guess people have to listen to the commentary that's also coming from people like you, from people like Mr. Drosimi and other contributors to the issue. There are things that need to be done, and I dare say we are working at it. There's so many aspects to the economy that I'll just sort of be hop-stepping all over it. I remember that one of the other initiatives of Mr. President is a 1 trillion, he says he actually has his eye on a 1 trillion naira, I believe it is, not a dollar economy. That's where he has set his eye, that he wants to take Nigeria to. Coming from the situation we were in, and Mr. President is working on what he is working on, and he's saying that, I'm not thinking small. I'm taking Nigeria out of the doldrums. And, all of us together, we need to look in terms of this kind of a value. Give me your thoughts, because this might be a fine point to have your impression on this whole goal, the goal of a 1 trillion naira economy.
I think the president's objective is actually to drive the economy into a frenzy with much momentum in the next over the next 5 years to reach or grow the economy into a $1 trillion economy.
$1 trillion economy.
We sustain, $1 trillion economy.
Forgive me, could I interrupt you, please? I beg your pardon, Dr. Akinshiju. Could I interrupt you, please? Because Ibrahim in Mina has called in, and I don't want to lose him. Good morning to you, Mr. Ibrahim in Mina. Ibrahim in Mina, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, go ahead, please. We're waiting on you.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Uncle Yori and the guests in the studio.
Dr. Ni Akinshiju, yes, thank you very much. Go ahead, please.
Yes.
Good morning.
Yes. We have all been counting. We have all been counting as to what the president has been doing so far, and as far as economic reform is concerned. And most times, people come with indices as to performance of the economy so far. And those indices are, the economic indices being displayed by those calculating it. As far as I'm concerned, they are correct. I don't have any argument with it and this thing. But the people, the populace measuring the economy, measure it from the market situation. When they go to the market, what do they face? That is the citizens now. So the technocrat or the elite may be calculating their own. The ordinary people will now go to the market. Do I go to the market and get life easier? Do I enter transportation as easy? Do I have health easy? Can my children access education? Because each government coming to power will only give you 4 years and maybe subsequently another year. So what the policy is all about, we are at the midway now. What is our hope? Because when you are talking about this foreign exchange of 18, we look at the foreign exchange, you discover that it's only in Nigeria you see government officials spending dollars. It's only in Nigeria that you see people, dollars being a very commodity, and there is no economy that allows that one to happen. And the people making law and the people controlling law are now even directly involved in it. It's not people like us, because we don't have access to this. You see people selling dollar in the streets and all this and the foreign currency in the streets. And we are talking about controlling this economy where consequences are not, you see issue of even budget being padded. All these things are on display. what hope do you have? Because the government, the president may be willing to do very good things for the citizens. But when you are seeing all these things, you start asking yourself, assuming the president just has 2 years, can he take us back to where we are coming from? If it is possible. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Ibrahim in Minna. What you said was clearly heard. And, well, Dr. Akinshiju, I'd suggest that he is saying that, inter alia, he is saying that the ground is not level, so to speak, as we say locally. Say all of this, because he started off by saying, I agree, all of these things are necessary. But then when I go to the market, or my wife goes to the market, it's a different story. And the technocrats and all the boffins and the eggheads and the experts, somehow they are cushioned. They don't see any of the stress that I see. He referenced transportation, he referenced education for his children, health and all of those kind of things. What would be your sort of commentary to him to consider?
Well, the truth of the matter is there's no way you also discuss economy without discussing statistics, because that's the only way you also measure what is happening within the economy for either the elites or the grassroots person to understand, I am not a person in the government office. I also go to markets, and I know a lot of people, even at my economic level, they also go to the same markets. We complain when we get when we hear the price of rice. We complain when we hear the price of pepper and all that. But the important thing is that we see indicators to say in this year or in this particular month, prices were like this, and the following month it had fallen, even if it is marginal. That tells us that certain things are happening in the economy in a way that the prices are coming down. Now, we may not compare the prices, to what they were 2 or 3 years ago, because the intervening dynamics are different. But going forward, the optimism is that these indicators are showing that prices will continue to fall, and that there are other policies the government is also putting in place. For instance, we are seeing for the first time, and impressively, the remodeling of science and technical colleges or technical schools, is the first time we are saying that, to say that, okay, because of the reality of contemporary times, where emphasis is on technical study, technical capacity and technological capacity, that our children, our students must be focused on technical grooming, and that federal government is not just only changing the nomenclature of science and technical schools, but they are actually going to provide succor in terms of financing for students. It's the first time I heard that federal government will be providing up to 45,000 naira for every student that is in a technical school, and that the mentors that they have, because they'll be attached to mentors in their artisanal trade, will also be earning 30,000 naira per each student. And now that for me is huge. But again, we couldn't have had this kind of policy in place, or even contemplated in the first instance, if we were still funding a subsidy. These are some of the savings, that had been savings from subsidy that have been diverted or channeled more or less into this kind of policies. And you have all that. You have the artisanal 100,000 artisanal upscale for 100,000 artisans. Now, that for me is also shows human capital development. It means that the government sees the gap, in the economic space, whereas our younger ones that are supposed to be trained. Those days you have apprenticeship relationship between new entrants and people who have been in the artisan trade. But now most younger people, because of there's no attraction in artisanship, they have gone to become Okada riders or Keke riders, and they spend like 5 years trying to collect money. But at the end of the day, they have no profession, they have no career, and therefore they become a burden still on the economy. So by by enabling the upscaling of artisanal skill and capacity, we are actually grooming professionals in that field that could also proceed either at the technical level or at the upscale level to even polytechnics as it is, you know. So I think the idea is for us to sit back and look and say, what have we been doing before now? We have virtually just been eating with our 10 fingers. As where I come from, Yoruba land, you are admonished not to hit with your 10 fingers because it means that you are not investing in yourself, you are not investing in your household, neither are you investing anywhere in your community. So when any time there is a burst, and that's what we have been experiencing in Nigeria, when price of crude oil goes up, everybody is happy. Within 3 months, we earn so much money, and there's so much money in the system. And then, fourth or fifth month, price start crashing, and we start talking about austerity measures. And we keep, you know, going through this cycle every year or every 2 years. And it means that we cannot even plan. We cannot project. And we are not, because we are not also investing in ourselves, we become how do I call it, a dormant economy. That's why we have always depended on some other jurisdiction to produce food for us, to produce clothing for us, to produce shoes for us, and we are waiting to buy from this. What happened to us? Why are we not producing? I want our naira to be strong. We can only have stronger naira when we have produced and we are selling to other countries. And that is why, for the first time in about 10 years, we have a $6 billion trading surplus in 2024. It's encouraging because it means that we produced in Nigeria, we sold to other jurisdictions of the world, we earned more money, and that we exported more than we imported.
Yes.
That is the kind of trade we should be looking forward to in Nigeria. And that means that when you have that kind of engagement, more people are actually, you know, have actually gone through a process of wealth creation in those trading, in the international trading.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Akishiju, for shining the light on that particular aspect of it. And talking about production and all of that, yes, as you said, we have to produce more. But people are talking now about it's not just whatever we can come up with here. You ship it out. People are now talking of value needs to be added. Whatever it is, don't just ship the raw materials out. There need to be industries so that we can also add value as opposed to what used to happen before, be it cocoa, be it agricultural produce like cassava and all of those, even gold. I was reading the other day that rather than just shipping out the raw ingots, that things are going to have to change indeed. But thank you, Doctor. I hear Mazi is on the line. Let me bring in Mazi Okorafor. Good morning, Mazi. Please go ahead now.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, I guess, in the studio. Yeah. Now, when we talk about the economy, in short, there's something I just discovered this issue in terms of foreign exchange. You see, before, if you enter Nigerian banks, we have multiple points managed from articles. When you enter Nigerian banks, they will tell you story in terms of dollars. But now, if you have the virtual account in any of Nigerian banks, if you walk in there, like what I saw, was just either on Monday or last week, Thursday. People there, I was on the queue to catch one small check there. And people, they collect just their demonstration account now. They give them dollars, they put inside their machine there, counted the whole thing now. They issue them, give you a slip, everything. It means you can buy dollars right now in Nigerian banks. This exchange is either 1,005 something or 1,000, which is something that we have never seen before in Nigeria. Before, when you go to banks, say you want to buy dollars for anything, they will tell you go to Bureau de change. They will just point it somewhere for you for them to go and buy. Instead of the bank, at least economically in terms of that monetary policy system of that exchange like that, is working very well. Now, what do we do? We have to sustain it. What do we have to sustain it? That in our as we are talking about the exchange rate, yes, I think that exchange rate affects in terms of importation and other items being imported to Nigeria. But the question is this: how do we solve this problem of exchange rate? Is it possible for the dollars to come down? Because if you look at nearby African countries, you see their dollar exchange rate is cheaper than our own. Our own is high because it's high. It's affecting importers, affecting manufacturers, because 90% or 70% or 80% of goods or raw materials we use in Nigeria are all imported. Now look at that. Thank God that is no difference. That's going to make it possible to establish a pharmaceutical company in Nigeria where they will producing all these drugs. They need to exchange it. They need dollars. How do you need to? Because all these things are going to bring the equipment. It's what?
All right, Mazi. I appreciate your call, Mazi. As always, you have a lot to say. Well, Dr. Kishiju, every Nigerian, of course, two things. I think the economy and soccer. Just about every Nigerian has his take on these matters. And so this is why the calls keep on coming in, interrupting, perhaps our train of thought. But again, it's for our benefit. The whole economic revival, under the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is indeed for the ordinary, every last ordinary Nigerian. But to return to this whole matter about the big task we have is to add value to that which we produce so that the benefit and the main profit doesn't go elsewhere.
Yeah. The truth is that value addition has been a major point of advocacy in Nigeria itself. Because even at the heart of it is the diversification of the economy away from crude oil production. So by adding value, as Dangote Petroleum Refinery is doing, that's adding value. I also know that the federal government is looking at a special agricultural processing zone. About 6 or 7 are being put together as we speak. So I know that is the intention of the federal government. Nobody is happy hauling thousands of tons of cocoa beans in the raw form to anywhere in the world, when you know that just by a secondary attempt at processing would enhance the price that you even get for the same quantity of cocoa beans. So I think it's as given. The idea of processing is a major economic trust, for a policy trust for the government. And there's no way any government would come and say we want to jump over that. And that's why I feel distressed. When with the NNPC managed refineries, because we thought that we have gotten out of that stress point where NNPC will only be responsible, for crude oil production and also export of crude oil. We have seen how competition can impact the economy with Dangote and the 2 refineries, Warri refineries and Port Harcourt refineries that were allegedly, operating, but now they're also shut down. So I am hoping, that we'll have more Nigerians go into that space. We'll also have more Nigerians go into the processing zone, agricultural processing zone. And perhaps more importantly, we have more Nigerians, along the trading along the West African region, and more than that, situate capacity in the African zones. Because these are potential markets, huge markets for all the resources we have. Somebody was talking about importing raw materials into Nigeria.
I'm afraid we've run out of time.
And I'm saying
thank you. I'm afraid we've run out of time. Thank you very much, Dr. Nia Kishiju. Counting the gains of President Tinubu's economic revival. Thank you, Renewal. You've really helped with that. We're not where we want to be yet, but at least we are making these incremental, improvements. I want to thank you very much for coming on and speaking with us this morning. All right then. So that's our program. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Fola.